don't remember dying. All I can remember is the metal grill of the semi that came rocketing towards me on I-76. I was in autopilot mode, taking in the sunset and enjoying my morning talk show, The New News with Blake and Chad. The only station that was worth listening to, honestly. Two guys that loved entertainment but hated the industry. Does it get much better? Either way, Chad was on about a recent debacle at his local sports bar when the steel monster of death came swerving off the opposite side of the highway. It only took seconds for it to be close enough that I could hear its brakes screeching like nails on a chalkboard. Then it all went black. There was no pain. I didn't even have time to be scared. It just all stopped. I wasn't ready. There was so much I had to do. The people I hadn't talked to. If I had known, I would have eaten at my favorite place one more time. I would have called my mom or listened to my favorite Zeppelin album again. Even if I only just got past Celebration Day, it would have been enough. But it didn't. Life just stopped, and I had no idea that it would. I was healthy, active, and ready for what life had for me. I guess getting hit with a semi is a pretty badass way to go, but frankly, it's bullshit. It's bad enough my life ended, but I didn't even know it. It's insulting. I awoke in a small room. Stone walls with no windows surrounded me. It was cold and damp, like an unfinished basement after a heavy storm. Drops of water echoed, and a low-frequency hum came from whatever was outside. Was it machinery? It wasn't loud, just ominous. My eyes searched for any kind of sense or reason. The ground began to shake. Losing my balance, I fell to my knees and planted myself on all fours. The stone wall just ahead of me started to shift and crack. When it split down the middle, a mass of muscle grew out of the void that it created. It latched onto the walls, spreading its veins as if to claim every surface as its own. What was it doing? I got to my feet. It formed into an archway. The shape of a door started to appear. Fear washed over me. I backed into the wall immediately behind me. I planted myself as flat as I could against it. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing myself for whatever horror was about to happen. "Hello, Darren," a calm voice said. I peeked out my right eye. There was a man. He was about my height, dressed in a proper black and white suit. His tie was red, with dark auburn stripes. In his right hand was a cane. Hi? I squeezed out. "Usually I warm up to this type of thing, but after a while we find it's just better to rip off the Band-Aid and get down to business. There's a lot of you, and I have a quota to keep." I gulped. "What? Who are you? Where the hell am I?" He spun his cane like a baton and caught it with a jovial pose. "Welcome to hell." He smiled at me. This pompous ass tried to make it seem like I just showed up to Disneyland. "I'm sorry?" I asked. "Let me guess. You don't understand," he started. "You were such a good person, and you did the best you could." I nodded. Tears started to form in my eyes. "Well, here's the truth. If there is a God, he doesn't give two shits about any of that. You're just one of the billions of people that think that they're owed heaven because of a principle that doesn't mean anything. You're here now. It's best to accept it. It will make my job a lot easier." I had to be dreaming. There was no way this was beyond death. I shook my head. "Bullshit. I pushed away from the wall. Now I was mad. I don't accept this. I balled my hands into fists and went towards the man. I reached for his collar to show dominance. I wasn't a small guy. I've kicked ass before, and I could do it again. My hands went through him like smoke. My shoulder collided into the pavement with a thud. The man started to chuckle. His back was turned to me. No matter how many times one of you tries to do that, it's still just as entertaining as the first time. He turned his head. Now get up. I flew up unwillingly and levitated in front of him. He was doing this. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. Yes, you're dead. Yes, you're in hell. And no, there's no way out. I felt all emotion leave me. It all dawned on me. I was done. I was at this man or thing's mercy. What the hell would he do to me? I winced and shut my eyes. Fuck you. Well, hold on now, Darren. I was gently placed back on the floor. Hell has its perks. I scoffed. What are you, stupid? He laughed. No, I'm right. He started to pace. How would you like to take the reins? Have some power, get some true satisfaction. I shook my head. I don't understand. He patted my shoulder. I could feel his hand. It's okay. You don't need to. Just hear my offer. Do I have a choice? I asked. He shook his head. I guess not. You could resist. It's inevitable, though. Time doesn't exist here. In a way, you've always been here, and you'll always be here. Why not cut to the chase and have some fun? Again, you'd be helping me out. I got a lot of people to see. Fine. He tossed his cane in the air and caught it with glee. Great! He continued to pace. You, Darren Alinsky, get to run hell for a little while. I looked into his eyes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He looked genuine. Run hell? Yes, we're always looking for inspiration. After a while, you get bored with the normal screams of agony. Trust me, we've got it all. Lake of fire, dentist chairs, genital mutilation, cold toilet seats. Honestly, I couldn't believe he was serious. I laughed my ass off when I saw the result. To think someone could take something so funny and make it so horrific. I shook my head. So you offer this to everyone? His eyebrow raised. We're more organized. You see, we evaluate everyone that comes here. Look at their lives, tendencies, and... He stopped, looking at the floor, almost mesmerized. Possibilities? He snapped out of it. You have a lot of potential. I put up my hand to stop his words of insanity. You're full of shit. I am, in fact, not. Things are different here. If you can think it, you can do it. Again, it's only for a short while, but down here, eternity is a long time. So it should still feel just as satisfying. I started to piece it together. So, you want me to torture people? He nodded. Someone has to. It's hell. I shook my head. I can't do that. He stopped. Oh, I think you can. He motioned his cane in the air. A line of fire appeared following the path of the tip. He formed a rectangle that turned into a window. A stone room like mine was visible. I saw a man pacing. He was slamming his hands into the wall. His body lunged with every scream and writhe. He wasn't being hurt. It was like he was losing his mind. "What the hell is this?" I asked, squinting my eyes. "You don't recognize him?" I looked harder. His right arm, a tattoo of a dagger piercing a heart with the words "shit happens" across the blade. No. My heart dropped. "Yes. Why don't we start you off small?" He waved his cane through the transparent window. The flaming rectangle extinguished, and it was no more. "We both know you'd love to get your hands on this guy, so have some fun." He pointed his cane at the wall behind me. Another door of muscle and tendons formed. "Whenever you're ready, walk on through. When you do, you'll be able to do anything you want." I looked into his eyes. "How?" "It's like breathing." He mimicked the chest movements. "It happens so naturally, you don't have to think about it." He raised his pointer finger. "But be careful. It can be intense at first. Best to warm up a bit before you get too deep." He turned, throwing his cane and catching it one last time. "Well, I'll leave you to it. Take your time, but do hurry. Remember, you only have this power for so long." I looked back at the passage of gore. "When does my time start?" I asked. He smiled. "When you walk through." I nodded. "Okay." "Great!" He turned to leave. "Remember, have fun with it!" He disappeared into the void, and the wall returned to its original stone self. My eyes looked to the new door. Was he really in there? Could I really do whatever I wanted? Where was this in the Bible? Last I knew, fire and brimstone were in hell, not a fucking power trip. I walked to the door, grabbing the handle with a squish. It made me recoil, and I wiped my hand on my jeans. Ugh, gross. Using my shirt, I covered my hand and turned the knob. It opened to the stone room I saw in the window of fire. There was the man with that tattoo on his right forearm. His angry voice boomed. "Let me out!" He punched walls and kicked. "I was out!" His screams of desperation continued. I drowned them all out. The discomfort in his voice, though. The desperation. It was sweet as honey. "Hello, Frank." Frank stopped. His back was still to me. He turned to me, his face full of disappointment. "Who the fuck are you?" He balled his fists. "Where's that little cane bitch?" Walking through the entrance, my first thought was to close the door behind me. It obeyed and slammed shut with a loud clanging squish. "How do you know my name?" His fists getting tighter. I couldn't believe this asshole. "You don't remember me?" I started towards him. "No!" His breath heaved. He was scared. "Answer me, faggot!" I immediately wanted to skin him alive, but I fought the urge. I wanted him to feel safe a little while longer. "That's what you used to call me." His fist loosened. "Do you know how little that narrows it down?" I kept my steps slow and consistent, each one getting closer. The beer on his breath was getting stronger. "Your entitled, pompous ass woke up every morning and made my life a living hell." His eyes widened. "I begged you to stop. I asked you why." Tears started to form in my eyes. "I was 9. You beat the shit out of me. And for what? Whatever made you mad? Because you felt like it? Because you had nothing better to do?" He took a deep breath. "I remember you." I scanned his body, deciding where to start first. "I bet you fucking do." It was silent for a moment. "Why?" Why what? I had enough. I screamed. I screamed the loudest I ever had. I screamed until the walls cracked and the foundation shook. Frank covered his ears, squealing in pain. Blood poured through his fingers. I wanted every sound he heard to be excruciating. Who does that to a kid? I lifted him in the air. He wiggled and panicked, grasping at the air, trying to gain control. His ears poured like fountains. I wondered if he'd run out of blood. How much of a mess would I make? Or could I start over whenever I wanted to and do it clean? It didn't matter. I had all the time to figure it out. I was in control, not him. You like feeling powerful? I forced his hands behind his back. Not that I needed to. They weren't going anywhere. I wanted him to know he had no hope. I wanted him to know he was about to have the worst existence possible. I dreamed every way that I could make this abusive fuck pay. How's it feel to be helpless? He screamed and sobbed. Please. I hyperextended all of his limbs at once. His cries were like a dog's wince. His breathing quickened. I ripped his lungs out and threw them against the wall. You don't get to breathe. Hours, days, months, years. A millennium passed. I took my time with every crevice and every organ. Whatever piece of him I removed, I knew he could still feel. I painted him on the walls like a Jackson Pollock painting. When he was reduced to a pulp of red that smeared the room, I reformed him and did it again and again and again and again. Well, Darren, a voice behind me said. I had just destroyed Frank's ears. Who the hell was interrupting me? It was about to get good again. I looked back. The man with the cane. You? I faced him. Can't you see I'm busy? He laughed. Oh, indeed. We've been watching you for a while. Your process is exquisite. Frank was still screaming. I could barely hear the man with the cane. I ripped Frank's vocal cords out and crushed them onto the floor with my foot. Finally, some peace and quiet. Look at you go! You've really got that down. My back still turned to Frank. I launched him into a wall and popped him like a balloon. I'll get back to you. The cane man clapped slowly. You're an impressive kid. The creativity just flows out of you. He spun his cane leisurely. We've been taking notes, and this is our new norm. I cracked a smile. So, I did good? He gasped. Good? Give yourself some credit. You set yourself up for one hell of a ride. He stopped. Sorry, no pun intended. My face scrunched. Ride? What ride? His cane contacted the ground. He circled me. You see, we've been doing the same thing for so long that we had to find new ways to make eternity interesting. Trust me, there's the time, but you won't believe how boring it gets. Things get old quickly. He continued. So the question was raised. How do we amp up the torture? How do we find what will break someone? Fear started in my feet and grew. It's so much fun letting all of you choose. Plus, you get some satisfaction on a filthy soul that deserves it. What are you saying? My voice trembled. I'm saying, Darren, welcome to hell. He vanished. Frank's squishing sounds of desperation evaporated. It was just me. A loud scream pierced out of the stone that surrounded me. I fell to my knees. My power was gone. I covered my ears. Blood seeped through my fingers.